What's happening, YouTube? Cowboy here, and today I'm going to be giving you an early look at Lords of the Fallen. So Lords of the Fallen is an upcoming hack and slash RPG being developed by Deck 13 Interactive and CI Games. There's some things about it that I really like and very few things that I don't. In general, it's reminiscent of things like Darksiders, Diablo 3, Dark Souls. So to go into it, when you create a new game, of course at the base we have a standard magic selection and a standard equipment selection. Your magic selection just gives you a base tree to start with. We have Brawling, Deception, and Solace. Solace being kind of our tank tree with highly defensive stuff. Brawling being your melee, bash your way through everything tree with stuff like, Rage, Surrounding Force gives more damage, attack power, moves energy restrictions. And of course Deception, which gives you stuff which will let you dispatch your enemies stealthily and quickly, like Mimic, a phase of magic following you, copying your moves and repeating the damage you've done. In equipment selection, we of course have our base class selection, which determines our starting gear as well as starting base stats. The three choices we had available in the demo were Rogue, which gives us a buckler and dual daggers, Cleric, which is a medium armor, a hammer, and a kite shield, and Warrior, which is a sword and kite shield with heavy armor. And for the purpose of this, we of course are going to be jumping into a save file I already have going. We're going to play through some of the game, go into some of the mechanics that I enjoy, talk about what's good, what's bad, and then we're going to kill a boss to wrap things up. So of course, obviously at first glance, the one thing that's very reminiscent is kind of a Dark Souls-esque look to it. The controls are very similar to Dark Souls. Left bumper blocks, right bumper is your base attack, right trigger is your heavy attack. But at the same time, the damage is kind of more on par with something like Darksiders. While we still have backstabs and parries available and whatnot, like when you're using a two-handed weapon like I am now, and you hit something, you're going to smash through it, as should happen with a two-hander. And while we could still do something like this in Dark Souls, it was more just doing jump attacks over and over with our greatsword to kill stuff, whereas in this game, we're using a massive two-hander, which also happens to be a boss weapon. We're going to hit stuff, and it's going to hurt. Now, another thing that I like a lot about the combat in the game, at least, is you're rewarded for well-timed abilities. And what I mean by this is, in Dark Souls, which is the most obvious comparison with the combat, a lot of people are always like, oh, it's just R1 spam all day. And yeah, you could do R1 spam all day, but Lords of the Fallen rewards you with better attacks by properly timing your abilities. So you can see right there, the three well-timed presses, that we had little blips on the stamina. We also had a change up in our attack pattern. Now, as for your weapons loadout, there's a whole slew of weapons. I mean, hammers, staffs, swords, short swords, daggers, fists, axes, great swords, great hammers, all kinds of stuff. But in general, there's three modes. You have your weapon and your shield. You press Y, you switch to either two-handed or dual-wield, depending on the weapons. Smaller weapons, such as a short sword or dagger or fist, become dual-wielded. And a third tap of Y brings out your gauntlet. Now, the gauntlet you get fairly on, it's a magical gauntlet, which lets you have three abilities: projectile, blast, and explosive. Now, of course, the little blue bar in the bottom left corner of our screen is our magic. We can see the projectile does cost quite a bit. We can't even use it again. 2 uses and we're basically completely empty now, and we even had a small delay before using it again. So while it does give you a nice ranged option at all times, it's expensive to use, and you can't just spam it and blow your way through as we could with a sorcerer back in Dark Souls. The blast is a shotgun blast up front, and then of course explosive is considered a grenade type ability with it. Now, another thing that's really nice in my opinion about the game is the death system. Now, when you die, you drop all of your experience in what's known as your ghost, similar to how you would drop your souls in Dark Souls. Well, what's interesting to note, and you'll see it better if I end up dying. I doubt I will. I'm doing pretty well lately. But when you die, you drop this ghost, and you'll see a timer above your health bar. It'll show how much XP you're currently losing. It shows basically your base XP, so it'll say 1,000. Let's say I died at 1,000 XP, it'll say 1,000. And then additionally, there'll be a percentage timer that slowly counts down. And what this does is the longer that you leave your ghost with your XP sitting around, the more experience that will slowly drain out of it. But at the same time, as long as that ghost persists, you get an additional health increase and magic increase, like regeneration rates on both health and magic. So for something like a boss, you're risking losing XP as it sits there, but at the same time, you're rewarded with the increased regeneration. Additionally, that big red thing all the way back at the start that you saw, those are your shards. Now, that's where you save the game and where you bank XP, but the game also rewards you for playing longer without saving. What I mean by that is as we kill enemies, there is a modifier that steadily builds up. So once we kill this guy, you can see our XP says times 1.2. As we progressively kill more and more enemies, that experience bonus will build up all the way to 1.5. So in short, the game rewards you for playing smart and killing stuff without dying. And of course, if you die or if you go to the shard, like the shard over here, that bonus will reset. So while you could play longer and longer to gain, more XP, you're also risking not only losing that bonus, but also your death and the potential of losing all the experience you've collected to that point. So while the game is challenging, it's not as punishing as Dark Souls, where in Dark Souls you die twice and all that XP is gone. While that still can happen here, there's a reward for, if you just die in a boss, instead of sprinting and picking up your stuff, if you had low experience, you could utilize that health and that magic regen bonus to help you in the boss fight. So when it comes time to use shards, we use these. These are considered checkpoints. They also save your game. Additionally, this is where we go to bank XP. As you can see right now, I have 1,098 experience, and I can put this towards either spell points or attribute points, which point I can hop in and level up. And looking at the spells, of course, we started in this tree, which gives us Prayer, Rage, and Ram. To develop the other trees, we need spell points, but we start with a base spell and Prayer over in this tree because that was the base one that we started to begin with. Another thing that's really cool about the game is the armor sets. Now, of course, with heavy armor, we got our pretty stereotypical fat roll. If we switch up to light armor, of course, the roll progressively changes. It becomes much faster. We have better stamina regeneration. I think I have the full hot blood set. Do I? I do. Yeah. So you can see quicker roll. Stamina also comes back faster. But not only that, what I like, and this kind of reminds me of Diablo, well, aside from the inventory system, which is very reminiscent of Diablo on console, you get bonuses for having full sets of armor. So, for example, with this symmetry set right here, when we have all pieces of the symmetry set on, we get a bonus to two-handed weapon damage, which is pretty cool, because basically the game rewards you for playing with, with complete sets. So obviously we have to take off our shield to equip the full symmetry set, in addition to, I'm actually going to take off my gauntlet as well. I'm not going to use the gauntlet. Oh, it's half. I guess I could, screw it. I don't want the gauntlet. I'm going in with just my shield. So we're very, very fat roll at the moment, but you can see the little buff down in the bottom left-hand corner there. That is our increase. And if I go to, where's my stats at? I should be able to, there we go. So over here, looking at the stat screen, see, actually I don't see the bonus listed there, but either way, basically there are bonuses you get for armor. I'm trying to figure out where exactly it was, details, but I know the full symmetry set gives you 15% increase to physical, or 15% increase to two-handed damage. Hot blood was, I think, increased stamina regeneration, and then the living element set, which is the medium set, gave you an increase to your elemental resistances. So missing 140 from our two attacks right there. Well, stuff down here isn't going to be the same guy anyway, so there's no point taking it off to show the difference. But I find it cool that the game offers bonuses for having complete sets like that. I think that's a really cool mechanic, and it kind of reminds me of Diablo, how you would get your full sets in Diablo and you would get set bonuses for completing them. So that's a mechanic that I really enjoy. Now, for the downsides, the most obvious glaring thing to me is considering XP plays, oh you asshole, considering it plays such an integral part in the fact that there's that risk of XP and you're trying to figure out how much you have. I mean, we can tap back real fast and we can see our current experience, but it's not displayed anywhere on screen. And in a lot of action RPGs, you usually have a bar, even if it's really tiny somewhere, that shows you how much XP you currently have. So I do wish there would be an XP bar, even if it's just like very thin in the bottom of the screen, or a percentage showing us how far to go. Additionally, in the character screen, which we are at right now, I haven't figured out, as you just saw, how to, like, even though we got our character development here, I don't know how to see bonuses that we're getting from the armor. And I know that there's the strength bonus from that armor, but I don't know where to find that. So, like right here, we can see I have, like, you know, you can see what buffs we have available, but I don't know how to determine you know, what current character buffs are going on. But items are pretty simple as well. Real quick, obviously just tap X to cycle between them, hold X to use an item. So that's simple enough to figure out. But all in all, I enjoy it. And considering this is only about 2 hours of gameplay that I was able to get my hands on, I do feel it is very reminiscent of Dark Souls in terms of the combat, because it has that Dark Souls style of combat. Oh god! It also has those wonderful falls that happen just like Dark Souls. Oh man, it wouldn't be appropriate if I didn't die to gravity at least once, right? So we're gonna go grab those. But you can kind of see now that I died, up above my health it says 100%, and that is how much of my XP is still left. You can see there's 406 XP total there. Now the longer I go without grabbing that, the more time that you know, the more time that passes by, the more that will slowly drain away. Now I'm not within range of it yet, but now that I am, you can see that I have that little heart icon shows up. That basically means I have increased magic and increased health regen as long as that timer is going, but at the same time, that experience total is slowly bleeding out. So right now only 95% of that 406 still remains. So of course when we pick it back up, you know, that goes away. Our health buff will slowly fade, but I feel like that is a really cool mechanic to have in place for bosses, so that, you know, keeping that soul down, it's going to give you a slight buff, make it a little bit easier to face off against the enemy. So with that being said, let's hop in, check out a boss fight, show you guys what it's all about. Another thing that I should probably mention, which I thought was pretty cool, is not only the differences in weapon types, but there's also the different shields in the game are fairly different as well.
There are some freaks on your side of the gate.
Your buckler has the ability to parry with your left trigger. Your medium shields have the ability to bash the enemy, like bash them back and create an opening to strike. And then your tower shields have increased stability. So, you know, if you wanna go for the parries, and given that they're, you know, kind of like high risk, high reward, you get the parry and you get the riposte after it, and you're going to do some big damage, but at the same time, the buckler obviously doesn't provide a ton of defense, whereas a kite shield or tower shield would. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of just going all berserker style and two-handing my way through everything. And of course, it does look like I'm doing a shit ton of damage, but do keep in mind that this is a boss weapon I picked up. Out of everything I fought in the demo and all the stuff I've collected, I haven't found a weapon that's better than this, so this is the highest damage currently available to me as a player in this demo. So now we're going to fight the commander. Big old beefy mofo, but our persistence will take him out. You can see that tower shield just shutting down, but that's the shit I was talking about, you know, even against you know, Fate, which is a pretty good axe here. It's an epic quality axe. It's a 55. Basic Marauder Great Axe is a 46. The one hand's 39. And you can see the damage goes down. Obviously, the dagger is only at 11. They're a lot faster, but I don't know. I really like the whole two-handed smash my way through my enemies type deal. He's already switching phases. So the boss fights seem they seem fairly well done. The first boss, similar to this guy, but as you fight him and as you get through him, at each integral 25%, he shreds off more of his armor and ends up attacking harder and harder, and then eventually, once you get him down to 25%, he throws away his shield and all of his armor, and then proceeds to try and ruin your shit with like crazy roll attacks. This This guy, on the other hand, at every 25%, shields up and summons some baddies to come assist him. Obviously, because he can't handle me on his own, because I'm just too badass. So, I'm going to try and use a spell here. You can see just how much of my magic bar was drained away to make that climb. What will happen is, you can see, he ended up attacking the clone, gave me an opening to get in. Unfortunately, I went for the heavy attack, which was not fast enough to hit him. Oh man. Commander is ruining my shit. Gotta heal. Another thing that I find is really nice is you have like basically rebound attacks after a well-timed attack after a roll. You can see we kind of had that sword thrust in. That's basically an attack that the enemy will have a harder time countering. Gives you a good way to follow up into your attack chain. The backstabs are absolutely epic. And I haven't managed to get one during this recording, but while playing there, additionally every now and then when you get like a good kill moment, the game kind of does like a slow-mo type effect, and you know, you get to see your epic kill in slow-mo fashion. So even though it's just something that's purely aesthetic, I did find that really enjoyable. And I like how, you know, even though I'm doing big chunks of damage to this guy, because of the fact that I'm using a slower two-handed sword, you know, I'm only getting one attack in when I get a chance. Like, if I'm lucky, I might get in two, but for the most part, he's just like, no, you're lucky if you get in one against me. I think that shield bash is going to hit me. I should have him switching phases here in a second. Oh, you done effed up? Boom. Boom. See, like that, it took a while before I was able to find an opening to go for the double R2 attack. But sure enough, it did massive damage against him. What I also like is it's not just straight scripted, like it's on a timer, you know what I mean? What I mean by that is, while, you know, I had to kill those two guys, if you take too long, he'll come out of his little stance there, and he'll just beat your ass along with the additional guys that got involved in the fight. So there's no, like, oh, don't worry, I got a break time to kill two of these guys. At the same time, you are able to pause the game at any time. Wow, that isn't the case with something like Dark Souls. Personally, I'm a big fan of being able to pause the game because, you know, if someone comes to the door or whatever the case is, you know, I want to be able to pause the game and get up and walk away. That's something I need the freedom to do. Die. I have to get through that big old shield of his. One more. Boom! And there it is. The commander goes down. Look at Harkyn getting new powers. Commando vanquished. So of course, as I mentioned, this game is coming out soon. October 28th, North America, October 31st in Europe. To my knowledge, it's going to be available on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Personally, I'm really looking forward to it. I was to begin with, and after getting a chance to play the demo, I'm looking forward to it even more. So I hope you guys decide to check it out as well. We, of course, are going to have a full walkthrough of Lords of the Fallen on the channel. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed the sneak peek, and we'll see you when we actually get started with the full walkthrough.